So today we're talking about building res cards and Live Connect. Can everybody see my screen, hopefully? I think
yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So today we're going to use me as an example. So we're going to pull up my profile. And if everybody again would mute their screen, we're getting some background noise here. All right, so we're going to look at. Guys, again, can we please mute? Let me see if I can mute everybody. Okay, hopefully that's got it. Okay, sorry. All right, so we are going to look at my profile and we're going to add a res card for me. Now, we can do this in several different ways. Easiest way to do is here's the profile. I'm just going to create new res card is the easiest way to do it. Now, you're going to go through, if you remember when we did our profiles, we went through several screens. It's the same way with building the res card. It automatically defaults to me. It's under my login, my branch number, the create date. It's an active booking. I don't really have to fill in all of these things. I could if I wanted to, but you know, for my purposes, I normally will put like if it's under deposit or whatever, and normally I'll build the res card when I book it and put the deposit down because then I know it's a firm booking. But a lot of people can, you know, if you just had a lead you wanted to build, that's fine too. The main thing here is we're kind of, I call this kind of the title page. So really, if you recall from last week, only those things that are in this tan color are required. So we're going to create a trip name. It could be, 50th birthday party, a birthday trip, Hawaii, honeymoon, whatever you want to put, it doesn't matter, but just something to identify it. We don't have to put in the trip dates yet. It will ask us to later. So here we've created the title page to our res card. So we've got under the res card, now we have just our title saying this is where we're going. Nothing else has been added yet, so it's just our title page. But if you recall when we did profiles, we had this little list of things that we're going to go down that list. So we're going to start with travelers. And under travelers, we're going to have in the profile, these are the travelers that I have in this profile. So who all's going? It might be everyone. It could just be me, or it might be I'm going to take my daughter. So we're just going to do that and save those. So we now have our general info or our title page, our travelers. Now we're going to add the reservation. When we add the reservation, and we're going to do this manually, we'll talk about Live Connect separately, but if we're going to add this manually, we have these choices, whether it's air, hotel, car, cruise, whatever it is. You do need to click the correct one. And one of the things that kicks back from our accounting system, if you don't do it correctly, is if, let's say we're doing a hotel, but I click on a tour. Well, Aggresso doesn't recognize that hotel as a tour that's listed, so they're going to reject it. So do make sure that you put, if it's a tour, if it's a cruise, the correct one. Also, when you click on the different ones, they have different fields for you to follow, and I'll show you what I mean. In this case, we're going to do a hotel. We're going to add in our vendor, which in this case, we're going to say, let's stay at the Grand Wailea. It comes up. Now, each vendor that you're going to use has to have a vendor profile in here for it to go to accounting. If it doesn't, It will not, you can't invoice it. Again, please mute your phones. So if it doesn't come up, you do need to send me, an email or open a help desk ticket to have this added, have this vendor added. It's pretty robust. There's a good number of vendors in here, but there's always that little odd hotel that's not in here. But for most part, they're in here. So I'm going to add my vendor, my hotel, and then I'm going to add, my confirmation number. I'm not going to go into booking method. It's going to default to confirm, but I will put in the number of nights just because I'll show you in a minute. It could affect the pricing. I have 1 room, 2 travelers, 3 nights. Down here, I've got my travelers. I don't need to be concerned about this invoiced outside. It's basically, that's for an airline ticket. So it was issued through ARC, but in this case, we don't really ever need to fool with that. Now I'm going to enter my costs. Now, as I said, when you enter things up here, it could affect the pricing. So I could have the total amount of the hotel, or I could do it per night if I wanted it. If I had more than 1 room, I could do it per room. I could even do it per person. So if I were going to pay half and my traveling companion were going to pay half, I might want to do this per person. So if I were going to send this to them. In most cases, you're creating the res card for accounting purposes. So for the most part, we normally just use the total. So the total amount for 3 nights at the hotel is going to be $1,589.32. Now, because I clicked on hotel, it automatically defaults to 10% commission. Well, let me back up. I could put in the tax if I wanted to. I could break this down if they send me that, or if I know what the tax, I could. Again, do I really care? Not really. I just want to get an invoice, so I'm just going to put in the total amount. It automatically defaults to 10% commission. Now, you and I both know you're not getting 10% on that total. You're only getting on the base rate. So that is one hiccup there. It really doesn't matter too much to accounting because when the commission comes in, it is matched by res number, not by the commission amount. It's matched by the res number, confirmation number. So they'll figure it out. But again, if I know that I'm really only going to get $137.45, I could add that in there as opposed to a percentage. And I think it's better if you do it that way, just so it's correct. Makes it easier. I don't have to put in deposit due date or final payment date unless if I'm sending this to a client, I might want to do it. So there I've added that. The next screen is going to ask us for the dates. Remember, the tan is always the required part. So we're going on October the 22nd, staying for 3 nights. I put in my dates. Now, I don't have to put in all of this other stuff. But again, if I'm sending it to my client, I might want to put that it's an ocean view room. I might want to put that it is 2 queen beds. Again, that's up to you. It automatically defaults to the address because there is a vendor profile. It pulled from that. I could put in here again, if I were sending this to a client, I could put this in there. I could put like, requested adjoining rooms, early check-in, anything I wanted the client to know that I did, or I could also just put remarks to myself. But you see, here's the information. We've got the pricing in here. We're going to save it. And now we have our res card with the information in there. So it's really pretty simple. Here's the amount on this side. I have the hotel reservation amount, the commission amount. Over here, I have the total for the res card, which in this case is the same. But let's say we're going to add some other segments to the res card. This would change, and I'll show you that in a minute. So here we have this. We're done with that. We're ready to go. Now, I'm still in the current res card, and I have other features I need to put in that res card. For example, I want to, now these clients are going to go to Kauai for a couple of days. So I'm going to add in another hotel. It's going to take me back to that same screen. We're going to put in, they're going to stay, let's say they're going to stay at the St. Regis Principal. I'm going to put in my confirmation number. Remember, the confirmation number is what matches it in accounting, so you need to always put that confirmation number in there. Again, do I have to put all of this stuff in there? No, I like to, just because I think it gives a little bit more info if I'm looking back at something. Again, I'm just going to put in the total here, which is going to be $1,134.26. And again, it defaults to 10%. I'm going to change that because I know I'm only getting that amount. Again, don't have to put any of this in there. I'm just going to save this. Again, we go to the dates of travel. This is going to be for October.
Meredith, while you're doing that, I just interrupted. Just had a question in the chat. They want to know if you can enter in the items in a specific order, or can you reorder items within certain flights?
Good question, and I'll show you. You don't have to put it in any order, and I'll show you how we can change that in just a minute when we have more segments in here. All right, so I have added, and thanks, Allie, for monitoring the questions. Okay, so I've added the dates. Again, I could put more information. That's all I really care about. Now, my res card total is different. Again, we've not invoiced anything, but here's the total. But here is the individual piece of that res card here. Now, when we get to, I'm going to add one other thing. Let's just say, I'm going to close, I'm going to say, let's add an insurance policy. So I'm going to sell them a Travelex policy. Confirmation number. Again, I don't have to put anything. Now, for example, if only Lindsay Hall was taking the insurance, I could just have it for her. Or I could have it for both, whatever. But so the insurance policy costs $500. And look, it says 26% because it already knows with Travelex, it's 26%. However, I could be selling the deluxe policy, which is higher. Again, I'm just going to delete that and fix it. So here I have the date. I sold it today to her, so I'm just going to put in that date. I'm going to save it. And again, now we see here's for that, but again, my res card total has changed. So now I have, here's my res card. Now, if I wanted to change the order, I would just highlight this. Well, highlight it. It's not doing that. There it is. And I could move it up here if I wanted it. I wanted it to be the first thing. So that's how you would change the order. So it really doesn't matter what order you put them in. You can order it however you want to. So I've got my basic res card. Now, what I meant when I said you could send this to a client, I could send them a trip proposal. And when I send this trip proposal, I could just email it to them, but I'm not going to because I just want to show you what it looks like, because it's going to have all the things that I've booked for them. This is not an invoice. It does show the cost, the total cost, the individual cost, and I could just send that to them and to say, this is what I've booked so far, how does this look, whatever. That's what I'm saying. If I put in these individual things like ocean view, the bedding, whatever, that's more helpful if you're sending it to a client. But again, I didn't put it in here, and that's okay too. That's up to you. So there we have our trip proposal. I could also do it under itinerary report. It looks a little different, but you could do it that way. Now under here, yes.
I apologize. We have a request if you could share the trip, how you got the trip proposal again.
Great. I just went up here to trip proposal, clicked on that. Again, if you email it, it will come up before you do the email, but I just want to look at it, so I click no. But if I clicked email, it would automatically go to the email that's in the profile, so you could change that if you needed to. But here is the trip proposal. So that's just kind of, you know, I know a lot of you, if you book a tour or a cruise or whatever, it's probably better to send that to the client. But let's say you have, you know, several hotels and you have insurance and you have a service fee and you have transfers and you have a lot of different things in an itinerary, then I think it really is helpful to, you know, this just is kind of an overview of everything that you've done for them. So I think, you know, again, if you want to use that, great. If you don't, that's okay too. So that's how you do that. Now, the other thing we could do, remember when we had the profiles, we can add an attachment. So let's say I get a written an email confirmation from the St. Regis, and I want to include that email in my file. I would have taken that email and saved it to my files. I would find it and then I would just enter it. So then I could look, I don't have one, but I could show you. Let's see. Let me just put my passport in there for you. Now, again, for things like passports or whatever, I think it's better if you have it, you know, in the body of the profile, not just the res card. But if, you know, individual things like, let's say you get a dining reservation or a spa treatment or whatever. Now, under attachments, I attached my passport to this because I had scanned and copied and saved a pass. Now my passport's attached to my profile.
And after you generate an invoice, we have another question, and you notice a mistake. Can you edit it, or do you have to go back in and delete it and regenerate another one since it's a PDF?
Oh, well, that was not an invoice, remember. That is just a trip proposal. So that's not going anywhere. But let's say you send that to the client and they went and they send it back to you for approval and they go, no, we wanted to arrive on the 22nd. You would go back into the reservations themselves and I would go back in here and there I would edit the date. I would change that. I could edit the cost. I could also, if I wanted to, if I sent it to my client and they said, no, we have decided we're going to use our points for that. We're not going to do that. So let's say I want to take that part out of it. This little toolbar right here, I can do a couple of things. I could just delete that. I could edit it. The other cool thing I can do is copy it. So for example, I have 2 rooms at the Grand Wailea. I have my my room, and you know, a lot of times you have families traveling together and they are going to have 2 or 3 rooms. Well, rather than me going back in that, I could just paste it. Now, it's going to bring up the same reservation. I'm going to change the reservation number because this one has a different one. And this one might only be for me. And I'm going to, this room might cost more. It might be the same, but you know, you could edit that. But I don't have to put all those things in there. I've added it. And now you'll see I have 2 rooms at the Grand Wailea. Okay, again, I want it to look right if I'm going to send this to them. So I would, well, why didn't it do it? Here we go. There we go. I put it in the correct order. So hopefully that makes some sort of sense to everybody. when you're doing invoicing, and we'll talk about invoicing in our next session, so I don't really want to get into those questions yet. But again, this is not an invoice we're doing. We've just prepared it to invoice it. And what a lot of times people can do is they can prepare this, send it as a proposal to the client and say, is this all correct? I'm ready to go ahead and charge this. So that's helpful. Some people don't use it at all. They're just trying to get the information in there so they can invoice it, and that's great too. So I think that covers how we do it manually, and probably more often than not, you would be doing it manually. But if there are no other questions on this part, I'd like to show you how to use Live Connect. Now, with Live Connect, and I'm going to go into a different profile here. Live Connect is exactly that. It's a live connection into the vendor's website. Now, it doesn't work with hotels individually. Live Connect works with cruise lines, tour companies, that kind of thing. And there are a few other things that I'll show you. So what it would do is, rather than me building that res card, I'm going to import all of the information from a vendor into my res card so I don't have to build it. The first thing I would do here, though, you remember how we talked about the title page? So I am still going to create a res card. And remember, all I'm doing here on this page, I'm just creating that res card. I mean, that title page. This Dansby Price, who is my dog, he's getting to go to Hawaii too. So we have booked Mr. Dansby Price through World Agent Direct, through Delta Vacations. So I've created my page here, but rather than going through all of these things, I'm just going to live connect to Delta Vacations and bring it all in. I'm going to type it in here. Now, if it doesn't come up, again, it could be because there's no vendor thing, but it will only come up if there is a live connection to that vendor. So we also know that it's, under World Agent Direct. Now, just FYI, I'll show you in just a moment how you find out who is a live connect. Now, this username, password, account number, agency code, those are really your logins to World Agent Direct. I'm not going to fill all that in. I don't have to, because I'm going to have to log in most cases to the vendor anyway and put the confirmation number. There are a few vendors that if you put all of this in, it will take you directly to that confirmation, but not always. More times than not, you have to fill it in again, so I just kind of don't. So I'm just going to click Import Existing Reservation. And this is going to take me, well, let's see if I can. My problem now is I've got to move screens here. Okay, so I have logged into World Agent Direct. Now, I skipped a page here. So I am in Delta Vacations. These little annoying boxes keep coming up, and I've talked to Client Base about that, and they're trying to get that done. So in the meantime, just ignore them. But so here I am. Now I could go in here, I could book something and then import it. I could do, whatever I needed to do. But I'm sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty here. All right, so I am logged in here. I'd already logged in. So Now I want to pull up that reservation I had made for Dansby Price. And again, those annoying little boxes. Here's Dansby's reservation. I'm going to select it. It comes up. Now, as I said, I could make payment. I could do anything I wanted to because I'm actually in in World Agent Direct. But I just want to import my reservation. Here's all the air and everything. I'm importing it. It wants me to match the traveler, make sure I have the correct ones. Yes, I do. It's for Dansby Price. I want to move him in. And now it created my res card. It brought in the reservation, the amount, the commission. I didn't have to put all of that in there. It brought in the confirmation number. It created my res card total, Delta Vacations, pricing, the traveler, all of that information is in here. And notice down here, see, it brought in all my air. Now, when it brings it in, the hotel is at the end of the air. I want it, if I'm going to send this to my client, I want that to be where it's supposed to be, in the middle. So again, I can move it up to where I want it. Well, sorry. Okay, so now I have that res card. So that's what it took for me to bring it in. Now, the cool thing about why you'd want to use Live Connect is because it does bring in all the information. If I were now to send this trip proposal to my client, you know, before we had just basic information, this brings across all of the air and everything, which is really nice. Now, again, I know I could send them and probably should send them the confirmation from Delta Vacations, but it's all there for me. And if you use Access, this would put all of that information into Access for you too, because Client Base and Access, which we'll talk about Access another time, but it does that. So again, I could add my confirmation in here by adding the attachment, but now I could also add, if I wanted to add in, like, let's say they're going to do, this is a cruise and I wanted to add an additional hotel or some transfers or a service fee, I could add other things the same way we did it manually and not use Live Connect. So just because I brought part of it in by Live Connect doesn't mean I have to bring everything in by Live Connect. I can Live Connect where I need to, and then just add insurance and bring that in as well. Although insurance, they're Live Connect providers too. Which, let me show you how to find the list of Live Connect. Up here, this little help button. If you go into contents right here, this is a good thing to know anyway, because it gives you lessons on how you do some of these things, but an in-depth look at Live Connect. It has all of the Live Connect vendors in here. So things like Delta Vacations, Travel Impressions, GoGo Vacations, Globus, Pleasant Holidays, Classic, all kinds of Trafalgar, you know, Travelex, Allianz, cruises, all of those things are in here. So that's how you find out, you know, if you could use a Live Connect vendor. But just remember, it's not going to do hotels. It's only going to do just your tour operators or cruise lines. So I think that's kind of a good overview. One last thing I want to show you too is reminders. You can create reminders for anything, but in regard to a res card, for this Delta Vacations, I need to remind myself when the final payment is due. I can create a reminder here. I can show when I want this reminder. The final payment is due, say, let's say it's due on September the 23rd. I could put in more information. Again, I don't have to put in anything. Reminder type. I don't normally use that, but it's task, phone call, appointment, whatever. I do put in a subject because I use Outlook And this is what will show up on my Outlook calendar when I put it in. So I'm going to put check for payment or check for documents. I could add something else in here like, remember to make dining reservations or blah, 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 whatever it is I want to remind myself to do. And it's going to, it defaults to the time of day that you're doing this. So if you're doing this, whatever, that's what time it's going to show up on your calendar. But all I have to do here, and there is something, you have to be linked to do this. So if you try it, it doesn't work, let me know, because it's just a matter of turning the switch on. Notice again, it's saying I didn't fill out these optional fields. Do I want to do it anyway? Yes, because I don't care about those optional fields. And what I do when I save this, it's sending me now an email to my email. Here it is, client-based reminder. I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to open it up and click on, it's on the other screen. Let me move that over. Save it and close it. And now when I go to my Outlook calendar, sorry. For September, I think I did the 22nd, was that right? There's Dansby Price reminder, check for payment. So I do that with all my clients just to help keep me on task. There are a lot of, people use different formats to reminders to set, but that's a real easy one. And as I said, I use it constantly. So it's just kind of a help.
Meredith, you had mentioned that you use Outlook, but what about other types of calendars, for example, Google Calendar?
I think you do have that option. I think at some point when you set it up, it says, you have to link what your calendar is. I'd have to try it and see. I've only ever used Outlook, so I'm not 100% sure, but I do think it does work with other calendars as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, I know that was real quick. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? As I said, next week we will tackle invoicing, but again, once you set up the res card, the invoice is a piece of cake. It's really setting up the res card. And as I said, you can put as much or as little in there. Again, I like to put a good bit of information in there because, for example, let me go back to in this client profile. If I were to look back under his res cards, I've got all of these things I've done for him. So when he comes back to me and says, hey, Meredith, what was that place I stayed in Ecuador, that hotel? I would have that information in there. I could go back and view that res card and have all of that info. So, that's helpful to me just to have a real complete view of everything I've done for that client. And those stay in there, I guess, forever. I don't know. But anyway, I think it's helpful the more you put in there. But again, I realize some of you are just, doing that to get the invoice run, and that's okay too. So whatever works best for you, but it's not really a complicated thing. Just play with it a little bit. I think it's nice that you can copy and paste things, that you can delete it. And so if I wanted to go back into Dansby's profile, because he called me and said, now I don't think you can delete it after you've invoiced it, because then it gets more involved. But I created this thing. I sent him a trip proposal. And he said, you know what? We've looked at it. I don't think we're going to do that. I could go into his res card, and I don't want to junk it up. So I could just go in there and delete it. So again, if we have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I think we've run a little bit over time, but again, I'm happy to talk to you individually if you need special attention or have specific questions. But other than that, I hope this was helpful, and hopefully you all have a great holiday weekend, and hopefully you will have lots of trips to create client res cards for in the near future. And next week, next Wednesday, we will talk about doing invoicing, which again, as I said, once you do the res card, the invoice is the easiest part. So not difficult. Looking forward to talking to you all next week, and have a great holiday weekend. So thanks for joining.
Thank you, Meredith.